Okay, here I am on my second digital 8 tape because I've got an hour's worth of stuff that I need to edit on the other one, including 30 minutes of great fun changing brake pads on this truck on both the front wheels. We're going to inspect the rear brake, the drum and the pad arrangement there, although I don't know that those will require service because they don't get pressed as hard when it comes to needing stopping power. But still, they haven't, I don't think they've been inspected more than once in the entire lifetime of the truck, so they probably ought to be inspected some more. But our focus right now is the oxygen sensor, because this thing is setting a P0155 code indicating that it's unhappy about the heater circuit that's built into the oxygen sensor. And what the heater circuit does, the heater circuit warms up the oxygen sensor, and the way the computer detects that this happens, it looks at the temperature rise of the engine coolant relative to the oxygen sensor, and if it doesn't see the temperature going up quickly enough for the oxygen sensor, then it sets a code. Now in this case, it appears that this is one of the second chance codes, that it can happen once without anything bad happening. Look at that, it makes the upholstery in my truck look white. Anyway, this is a second chance code, so if it goes wrong once, the computer will log the error, but it won't set the engine light, it won't set the check engine light off. If it happens again, it does set the check engine light off, and that's what's happened so far. So, let's see if I can get my butt under here and actually find it and show it to you. I'll promise you right now, there is no room to work under here with a camera, but you can see the oxygen sensor right there, and the wiring does appear to be hooked up and okay, so I think we're good on that front. But that is not going to be a lot of fun to get to and remove, as the keykeeper has astutely observed. And of course there is next to no room to be recording video under here, so you're probably not going to get to see much of the actual removal. But you can see that this is the pre-cat sensor. You can also see that the other one is much more readily available, so naturally it is the one that would not fail. And then of course there's a resonator, there's the actual catalytic converter, and there ought to be, shouldn't there be a post-cat O2 sensor on this thing? What? Shouldn't there be a post-cat O2 sensor?
Yeah.
Okay, well I don't know where that is. It's probably around here somewhere. I can't see it as well as Night Shot does. But there's the catalytic converter itself. And there's the joint to the rest of the exhaust system, and there's the muffler, and all the way on out to the tailpipe. Guess we'll see how this is going to play out. Probably badly. Most of the stuff we get into does, especially if I'm involved in it in any way. Ow. Hopefully it won't break off in the pipe.
That usually is not a problem.
He said so optimistically. Well, I heard something go crink.
Getting ready to break off in the pipe and really make me angry. Jeez Louise. Okay. I'm probably looking at a 17 or an 18 inch. If it's a...
Okay, the keykeeper just got it to break loose.
Do you think this is bad? I did this on a pretty new Jeep Liberty. You know, one of those new ones you see running around that's not quite an SUV, but is an SUV.
Yeah.
I had to fight the exhaust pipes, transmission. I mean, it was right up against the transmission, and it was four-wheel drive to boot.
Well, that didn't help anything.
So now that it's free, we can unscrew it, and it will drop down.
You see it right there.
It looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Now here, folks, is a brand new Bosch brand O2 or oxygen sensor. You can see the end has got a protective tip on it. When I take that off, they were actually kind enough to put some never-sees or anti-sees right on the threads. And while the keykeeper is busy manhandling parts of my truck that he probably shouldn't be manhandling, there's the little electrical connector that plugs in. There is the old oxygen sensor right there, and as you can see, it looks a little bit different than the new one because it's got some kind of a cage over it. You can see firsthand how hanging in that hot exhaust stream has definitely taken a bit of a toll on it over the years. Look at the differences in color between the metal that was exposed and the metal that was not. Quite a bit of difference there. Okay, now we're going to actually put some more anti-seize on this thing, just because if it has a dark day again in the future and goes bad, we actually want to stand a pretty good chance of getting it out of there without abusing those threads like we did.
I'm just glad that we found a wrench.
Yeah, I am too. I'll tell you what, us two wise guys, we'll always hope we took the plastic cap off the sensor. Oh man. Yeah, and in all seriousness, it's laying right there, so that's nothing to worry about. Now we just got to plug in the electrical connection, clear the code in the computer, and do the easy part of the job, which is to take a test drive and verify that the complaint no longer exists.
Can't use a nut and bolt because, you know, that adds half-pound to the vehicle.
No, you can't do that. It's got to be plastic Christmas trees.
And that costs money.
Yep. Adds like 1/10 of a penny.
The blue Goomba's in. I'm done, except for checking the rear brakes.
Yeah, it looks like the key keeper.
I think I'm going to have myself a beer now.
It looks like the key keeper's about ready to take a nap on his creeper.
Okay, well, what do you want to do? You want to take this thing down and test drive it? Or
I think we might as well, yeah. I think we might as well test drive it and then check the rear brakes. We got to get it down from here anyway in order to do that, so might as well.
Anybody want a wrench? There's probably 20 of them here.
Alright, now, there isn't a whole heck of a lot to checking onboard diagnostic 2 codes and clearing them. The first thing we have to do is we have to find the vehicle's onboard diagnostic 2 connector, and right there it is. So we plug this in to my little Harbor Freight code pod. This thing is actually sold under a bunch of different names. And then I get the keys.
My was made in this country.
I get the keys out of my pants, I turn the key on, and I tell this thing to get busy, and it determines what communication protocol is in use. As you can see, we've set a diagnostic trouble code. We can actually view what it is. It's P0155. So now we can go down and we can erase the code. It asks me if I want to do that. I say yes. And it says erase done. Then I go ahead, turn the key off, disconnect the pod, and we go for a test drive to see if it sets the code once again.
Alright, now, even though uxwbill and I, the key keeper, had a lot of fun and we're joking around a lot tonight, there are 2 things you don't joke about. Number 1 is eye protection, because you don't want to get under here and have something fall into your eyeball, like a piece of rust, dirt, water, etc. Second thing you don't joke about, and you always make sure you do this, is if you ever get under a vehicle, make sure it is supported by jack stands, not just a jack. See, I have 2 3-ton jack stands under the control arms, A-arms of this truck. So now I'm jacking it up so it can be like my truck. And then I'm going to take out the jack stands.
Notice how the vehicle wobbles back and forth now it's lost the support of the jack stands. It's very easy for a jacked up vehicle to fall, and it'll crush you. Just like that, folks. So don't even joke around with it. Fumble! Like we said, this is a very popular place to park.
I'm living up to my name. I even got a key to the Black Plague over there. You ought to see if it'll start.
Yeah, it won't run for very long.
Oh well. We'll have a red line for a good time. With 5 cylinders.
It's not as reflective as the silver car. Looks like about half the LEDs in my center high mount don't work. He said he squished a water bottle. Good times. Got a pretty nice note to the exhaust.
And maybe ever so slightly.
I can smell our solvent burning off the exhaust system.
We'll get out on the highway and see if the performance has increased. See if it's... I already can tell it's not lugging.
Yeah, it was doing the same kind of thing that 45 Player's Tahoe was doing.
His hoe.
Just not quite as bad. And we're going to take care of that ABS light sooner or later.
I'm going to learn how to do that and get you all fixed up. I have everybody knocking down my door for automotive work.
Alright, well, we're going to run this thing through a drive cycle out on the highway.
I'm even going to try to squeal the tires once or twice.
Oh, please don't do too much of that.
Oh, she sounds much better. The little truck thing is all healthy again. Except for the ABS lamp. It's weird to drive this truck when I compare it to my truck. The instrument panel is like so far away. Whereas in my truck, everything's a lot closer to me. And the Pontiac. I guess, is your seat back or something?
No, it's actually pretty close.
Pretty close?
I sit a lot closer to the steering wheel than I ought to.
Yeah, for the airbag and all.
Mm-hmm. That's something I never want to experience. As an airbag deploying.
Think we'll see Bambi tonight?
I hope not. I'd hate to fix this thing and then crash it into a deer.
The other night when I was driving around checking on my stuff, I saw about 12 Bambis.
Really?
Yeah. Getting to be that time of season.
As you can see, we're the proud Midnight Auto Repair team.
Squeaky.
Yeah, the brakes sound a lot better, and the Keykeeper's report is that they also feel quite a bit better.
Oh, it's like a new beginning for this truck. It's just amazing how much better that brake. Yeah, she's all better. Total sweetness.
You can actually see some of the unused indications in the dash there, like gate ajar.
I'm gonna have to try that with my truck and my car.
Now the seatbelt and the airbag indicators are not illuminated, but they sure look that way with night shot on. Check gauges is also not illuminated, no matter what it looks like.
Oh.
And I don't have as many miles on this thing as I thought I did. There's only 85,926. Get this thing back home and plug the code reader into it and see if it's set any codes, but I think it's probably all better for now. Alright, now we're back after our little test drive. We took the vehicle through a pretty average run on local roads and highways and at varying speeds. Let's see if we've stayed clean. And the answer is yes, it has not set any diagnostic trouble codes, but the Keykeeper and I we'll both keep an eye on it and make sure that it's going to behave itself over time. Now, we're going to check out the rear brakes on the truck. These are certainly some of the more interesting front wheel chocks you'll ever see. A Bag of salt pellets on one end, and a cinder block over here on the other, although that one's not a very good bet. Couldn't find anything else to use. Don't do stuff like this, it's dangerous.
What are you doing?
It's a thigh master, that's what it is. Now, on the two-wheel drive versions of these trucks, such as this one, the front brakes are discs and the rear brakes are drums. Whereas on the four-wheel drive versions of these trucks, there are disc brakes on all four wheels. We checked out the rear drum brakes and they're both in great condition, just as we thought they might be. Now the key keeper's getting ready for another big letdown here, which is usually how most of our automotive work seems to end.